Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the New York Rangers. There's been a lot of stuff going on with the Rangers, between maybe talks about even Alexei Lafreniere to even smaller guys like Ryan Strome, Vitali Kravtsov, a lot to get into, even Georgiev. So we're going to be going over some of the trade rumors here for the Rangers. So the first one isn't necessarily a trade rumor, but it's more about what the talks are, maybe on an extension with centerman Ryan Strome. So this is from Larry Brooks. It's hard to imagine the Rangers giving Ryan Strome more than $5.75 million AAV, which is annual average value. I think that's going to be an issue. I think Ryan Strome has been pretty good with the Rangers, but to be honest, I think he's going to get paid more than that on the market. I could see him getting $6 million. With that said, is he worth $6 million? I can't really say. I don't really think he is worth $6 million, but I could see a team out there giving him the money. Now the question is this something where maybe the Rangers say we're going to keep him as our own rental, and in the summer he'll talk to teams and he'll see what interest he draws, what kind of prices they're looking at, and maybe he returns to the Rangers, right? So I think that's all going to be up in the air. The Rangers don't really have the cap space to do that. I just made a video talking about potentially blockbuster trades for the Rangers, because you're kind of, someone mentioned in the comments, I was making the point that the Rangers have $30 million, 30% of their salary cap locked up in three forwards: Chris Kreider, Artemi Panarin, and Mika Zibanejad. I don't see any of those three guys waiving their no-move clause, especially guys like Panarin, who's making up a lot of the cap. He purposely was a unrestricted free agent and signed with the Rangers. I don't see him wanting out. And if any time, definitely not now. So I think that's kind of where that kind of sits. I just don't see a spot where Ryan Strome stays in this organization for long. I think this is going to be a guy that, unfortunately, because of the Rangers' success this year, he may have to go out in the open market and probably get the money that he wants. So that's the latest on Strome. Not too much. Now we move on to Vitali Kravtsov. We've talked about him all season. He's the cover boy of today's video. And there's been a lot about Kravtsov. And the first interesting one we have here from Drance and Dollywall, which is out in Vancouver. An intriguing name that we keep hearing linked to the Vancouver Canucks as a player they regard highly is New York Rangers forward prospect Vitali Kravtsov. Now, that also is followed up from The Athletic. The Vancouver Canucks have been linked to Rangers forward Vitali Kravtsov. So now that's two different reports, maybe giving a link to Kravtsov over to Vancouver. I think there's a fit there. I think if the Canucks are looking to get a little bit younger on the wing, maybe they get rid of guys like Brock Besser, they move out some of those bigger contracts, a guy like Kravtsov fits that mold. I don't know if he has any necessarily ties with the team. I know that Vasily Podkolzin, another Russian, maybe there's some links there between the two of them. They could build some chemistry together on maybe a Russian line. But I think that's interesting. So Vasily Podkolzin, maybe have a new line mate, Vitali Kravtsov, right? But I think the Rangers, that divorce is just, they're waiting to get the paperwork done. I think the Rangers and Kravtsov is a story we talked about in the beginning of the year, how he was reported to Hartford at the end of training camp and said, nah, I'm good. I'm going back to Russia and you guys can trade me. And that's kind of where we're at. So we'll see where things go with Kravtsov, but that's definitely an interesting report to keep an eye on really over the next couple years with wherever he ends up in the NHL. So now we talk about the goaltending in between the pipes. From Frank Zaravelli, the Golden Knights have expressed interest in goaltender Alexander Georgiev. And that continues with a couple more reports. Rangers would replace Georgiev if they trade him with Greiss or Halak as potential targets, and that's funny, I'll say that in a second. Seems their relationship with Georgiev is probably coming to an end. That's from Larry Brooks. And there's a couple things we have to get to. So the first thing is, if you guys don't remember what happened, I think it was last season, this one of the big the straw that broke the camel's back with Tony DeAngelo. Supposedly, again, rumor, but supposedly, Georgiev let in a bad goal in one of their games, and basically Tony D basically called Georgiev a bum and he's not good at goaltending, and it started a fight in the tunnel on the way off to the locker room, and Kreider got involved, supposedly punched him, and we know how that all turned out. And actually, D'Angelo's played pretty well in Carolina this season, but Georgiev, I think there's still some little lingering things with that, and I think that this is a guy that maybe needs a new home. And I think now it's been 2 years where he's really struggled here for the Devils, 2 seasons now. I think it is time for him to go elsewhere. Golden Knights have called about Georgiev and other goalies, again from Saravelli. But what I also wanted to get to is the replacement. So Yaroslav Halak, not happening. He reportedly will not move his no-move clause out of Vancouver. Fans can hate it, say whatever, but the Canucks shouldn't have given him a no-move clause if they didn't want to trade him at the deadline. That's a Jim Benning move, and that's one that, you can't really blame him. He's got the no-move clause, and there's a reason for it. It's because he wants to exploit not moving before the deadline. He does not want to move until this summer, so that's not going to happen. Again, former New York Islanders goalie Yaroslav Halak, and also former New York Islanders goalie Thomas Greiss. The Rangers always pick up the Islanders' sloppy seconds with backups. They've done that in the past a lot. Marty Biron. I think they tried signing Rick DiPietro when he was a free agent. They also brought in, I'm trying to remember who was the other guy they brought in. They brought in like McDonald, something McDonald back in the day. But I guess it goes both ways, right? The Islanders also had Kevin Weeks, so touche, I guess, right? So that's the latest on Georgiev. And then we got some more, another interesting name. Again, a restricted free agent this summer. The Rangers aren't going to have the money to re-sign him. But again, I think they're going to keep him as an own rental. Again, unless the price is really good. From Larry Brooks, again, the Canadiens could have trade interest in Rangers defenseman Libor Hajek. And Libor Hajek has been with the Rangers for a couple years. He's been through the tough times with this Rangers team. He's been more of a 6-7 defenseman, and I could see the Habs having interest as a depth defenseman to add to that blue line. I could see something being there. And again, Jeff Gorton has some ties to Hayek as a player, so I could see that definitely being a fit. Guys, this is going to be an interesting deadline. I made a video talking about this, but I think the New York Rangers and the Montreal Canadiens are potentially bubbling up a pretty massive situation here. We've heard rumors about Alexis Lafreniere. He's still a year away from restricted free agency. Even Capo Caco, he is going to be an RFA this summer. What is the Rangers' honest, legitimate stance on Caco? He was the 2019 second overall pick behind Jack Hughes. What's the mindset there? Is this a guy that's legit, for real? What is the ideal situation here for the Rangers with Caco? And I think that's going to play into what happens with Lafreniere as well. So we'll see what happens. But I think the Rangers and the Habs, they have things that they each want from each other. Jeff Gorton was the general manager of the Rangers for a long time. So I think Chris Drury could be working the phones here at the deadline, making some pretty interesting moves. And the Rangers look maybe further ahead of schedule than we thought they were, considering how things have been really the past 2 years. The Rangers look pretty good this year, and I think they will be a good playoff team, maybe going for a cup run. So, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Vancouver Canucks? What do you guys think of the New York Rangers going into the deadline? What additions would you like to see them make? I know they've been rumored to a lot of big-name defensemen, guys like Sherratt, Giordano, even guys like Chychrun. I think they're in the mix for those guys. So we'll see what happens. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.